What's going on, everyone? How are you? What is happening? I don't know where Allie is. I invited him on, and we talked earlier today. And he asked me what time we were going to go live, and I said 6:30. Hold on. And I looked back at my message about I don't know 10 minutes ago, and I realized I didn't say Eastern time. So I don't know where Allie is. I'm assuming it's because he didn't ask me, he didn't respond. I just said, I'm going to start the stream at 6 and we're going to go live at 6:30. So unfortunately, I don't know where he is. He hasn't responded to me. I sent the invite. So I hope he shows up soon or soonish. I don't really I have a bunch of questions I would like to ask him and talk to him about different things. Honestly, the plan would be to talk about how he got into politics and all that stuff, and then go to Rumble at the end or in the middle and start talking about some more controversial issues. But unfortunately, I don't know where he is, and he hasn't responded to me, so I don't know exactly what to do. I wasn't planning on doing any segments today. I was just going to talk to Ali about different things. There's a lot of allegations floating around about him, and I have a feeling that he has a big target on his back, and I want to hear his side of it. Um, I also want to hear his opinion on Trump, on Ye, of course, because he's a big proponent. He's sitting in Ye's corner. Like I said, I don't need these right now. Georgia Giant Slayer, what's up, dog? Cheers, George. $20. All hail the king of interviews. That's mighty fine of you, sir. I appreciate that. I don't know if I would consider myself the king of interviews, but that is very nice. I really do enjoy talking to people and hearing from them. And I had a friend of mine point out to me, you're very good at taking people at face value and going from there. And I think that there's a lot about that. Yeah, I guess I could talk about the Crowder thing while we wait. For those who don't know, Crowder put out a video, and I think I talked about it a little bit. Daily Wire put out a response video, and I watched I watched them both. Uh, I don't know how you guys feel about this, right? I don't know how you guys feel about the Daily Wire Steven Crowder thing, and you know after listening to Daily Wire talk about how they didn't send a contract, they sent a starting conversation. And I can understand how it is a little lowball for someone of Steven Crowder's caliber, right? But at the same time, I understand that. I mean, he made it clear, Jeremy, in the Daily Wire video, made it clear that they were expecting a counter. They were expecting negotiations. They were expecting things to be stricken from their offer to find somewhere in the middle. Crowder made it seem that Crowder would have been punished had people boycotted him. And he's not wrong. So I actually understand Crowder's point. If he gets demonetized from YouTube, which he is in fact demonetized from YouTube, so that would have been immediately taken off of that $50 million offer, right? But of course, Daily Wire addressed that and said that that would have been fine, and they would have changed that part of the contract. But I understand Daily Wire's side of it, because Daily Wire is a business. If part of something they're paying millions of dollars for doesn't bring in money, they're they're going to eat it instead of sharing the load, essentially. So I feel like Crowder made a bigger deal out of it than it is, and Daily Wire was coming from a very legal business perspective. You know, Tim Pool tried to get me to sign a contract that would have given him full rights to every creative thing that I did while working for him. You know, that is horrible. And I wouldn't have gotten it back after I left. Crowder would have gotten all of his stuff after he left Daily Wire. There's like Tim talks about the golden handcuffs, right? And Daily Wire made it very clear that they wanted Crowder to speak as he wanted to, right? And be able to keep being who he is, Crowder. I'm on YouTube. I've gotten plenty of strikes on YouTube, so I'm coming from a position of understanding a place of I know that you can't just say whatever. Crowder just he did a response video. Interesting. Metastep says talk to Nick about it. I watched half of Nick's video. I was watching it earlier. I haven't didn't finish the whole thing. I don't know. I feel like I get it was a shitty offer, but it wasn't like this is what it is, take it or leave it. It was like this is the conversation starter. Crowder could have very easily said these things on here are unacceptable, which he did, and Daily Wire said, "Okay." That was 3 months ago. That offer was not a joke. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think I think it was. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like 50 million. I mean, that's not taking into account that that money would have gone to the production cost, hiring a team, paying for people. So I get that, it should have been more. And he even recognized Jeremy in the Daily Wire video recognized that it should have been more, and he was expecting Crowder to actually ask for more. Nick does make a good point in his video that I picked up on, that he said it seems that Crowder's agent wanted to gave a number. So Daily Wire kind of had a number in their head already and then set it at 50 as like the starting spot. It's an insult. An insult is a shitty way to start a conversation. But that's not the point of what Crowder was saying. Crowder was making a point of saying they were catering to big tech. And it's like I as someone who gets a lot of strikes, I'm at 9 community guideline strikes on YouTube at this moment, right? So I understand if someone's going to hire me to do a job that uses my YouTube platform as part of the analytics to show how much money I should get paid from that company, and I knowingly go and get myself or unknowingly, I guess, right? If someone comes at me, you know, see, this is the thing. It's like I understand Crowder's side of it. That's the rough part. I feel like they're fighting each other, but Daily Wire was coming from a very strict business proposal, and Crowder's coming at it knowing his worth, which I understand. You should know your worth. There's a reason why I didn't sign the Timcast contract. I wasn't going to be locked in. Fuck that. I want to own my show. I want to own the music that I wrote while I was working there, and I would have given that up. Like no way. There's no way that I was going to do that. Wanderer Sarah says, "Oh, celebrating 20 months. Wanderer, cheers, mate." Crowder dropped another response to the Daily Wire video. I want to watch it. Maybe we should we just watch it right now? I mean, I don't know where Ali is. He still hasn't responded to me, so maybe I should uh, just I don't know change the thumbnail and change the name of the show, because I don't really know um what to do about that. Georgia Giants say for $50, George. Thank you so much, George. That is amazing. Wow. Wow. George says, have a ton of questions. I can't wait to hear you get to the core with Ali, as you always do. Do you think for Crowder, it was more about people putting themselves up as real fighters like you, but instead are controlled opposition? Hail, my friend. Hail, George. Thank you so much. That's a good question. And yeah, I think that's where see that's what I was saying, where Daily Wire was coming at it from a very rigid business perspective, contract written by lawyers. Daily Wire, Jeremy made it seem like they were really close friends, and even Tim, when Tim walked up to me with that contract, he looked me in the eye and said, as he set it down, "I know you're not going to sign this." Verbatim, those were his words. So it's like I could say the same thing. Like, Tim, if we're friends, why would you come to me with this shitty contract? Right? I'm not going to sign that. I'm not going to sign away my creativity to you. Like, no, you're not my superior. I've never treated him like a boss. I never considered him my boss. I considered it him hiring me on as the personality that I am. Nacho Business says, let's watch. Okay, you guys want to watch it? Mr. Squiggle celebrating 29 months. Holy shit. Damn, 29 months. Mr. Squiggle says, do it. All right. Well, that's amazing. Thank you. Incoherent Turd says employees forfeit earning potential for security. Entrepreneurs forfeit security for earning potential. You can't get earning potential and have someone else assume the risk. Daily Wire is shady. It's interesting that you're saying that they're shady, but then perfectly sum up Daily Wire's side of it. Because you're correct. Crowder would be ensuring that he's getting paid a lot of money, although I don't know what his personal salary would have become, because that money would have been all of the money to produce his own show and hire people and do stuff. And, he would have had to do a documentary once a year, which in itself is another thing. That's a lot. So this is what I didn't like about the Daily Wire video. He only has to work 170 days, whatever the day amount was. He gets to take Fridays off. All he has to do is do 4 shows a week. Only has to do 4 shows a week, but also has to do a full-length documentary once a year. That's 4 full-length documentaries. I mean, I've done deep dives, and those take a lot of time to put together and research and put a timeline together just for me to sit here and talk about stuff, let alone film an entire thing, So the whole Daily Wire side of it, it feels like they were just trying to put themselves in the best light as possible. Oh, okay. We've got we're gonna have to wait for another time to do the rest of this conversation. I see Ali has arrived. I'm gonna bring him in. Okay. Hold on one second. Ali, we are live.
What's up? I'm so sorry I'm late.
No, that's fine. I looked at it and I was like, man, I should have said Eastern time.
No, it's hold on, I'm throwing this up on my Telegram, but yeah, no, it's really great to be with you. I was on a phone call and I was like, I think something is going on now, and I looked at my Twitter mentions and they were like, are you going to go on an Adam Crigler show? And I was like, oh shoot. So thank God for Twitter.
Right. Well, thank you for joining. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into, I know there's a lot of there's Trump, there's Ye, there's 2020. There's a lot of things that I know you have a lot of opinions on. But before I even get into that, I just want to talk about where you're from and how you even got into politics.
Where I'm from. So I was born in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And
Texan. All right.
And I'm a Texan through and through, but I spent some of my formative childhood years in Washington State. But anyway, I came of age in Texas, and I dropped out of college twice. I said, you know what, I owe it to myself to give politics, full-time politics, a shot. And when I fail out in a year or two, then maybe I'll come back to college, or maybe I'll just get a regular job or whatnot. And kind of the opposite happened. I just kind of failed upward. And so we had the 2008 loss. I worked for the John McCain presidential campaign. That was a huge
Right.
honor. Did a couple congressional races also. Um, Me and about 36 other friends started the Tea Party movement, and that kind of catapulted me in a different category where I knew activists and GOP county chairs and Tea Party activists all across the country. And that gave me a network to where basically the 2012 cycle comes up and I have 30 clients. I mean, I'm a young guy still at that point. And, you know, you know, politics has been good to me. It's always been fighting the establishment, but I've been respected by the establishment. It's always been my frustration with the grassroots, but I've been a grassroots guy. So, you know, when people look at me and they know me as, oh, that's the Stop the Steal guy, or that's the Twitter guy,
That's
they
when I
don't
first
really
saw
know
you.
about the 15 years that I've put into the business, helping reshape it, and more of the professional stuff that I used to be known for. And now I'm kind of known as the activist guy or the January 6th guy, and it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I first heard of you, was the Stop the Steal. I was in DC for the late 2020 Stop the Steal. Oh, I don't know exactly which one because there was a few, but
Yeah.
I went. Do you? I keep hearing myself. Is there a way you could put headphones on, or
You know what? I don't think I don't think I
That's okay. That's all right. We'll. It is what it is. So,
we should ask the audience if they're hearing the same pop, because that would suck.
uh, I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. That's fine. There's man. Oh, so wait. Actually, I'm curious. What did you said you went to college, but then you kind of were like, that's not for me. What did you go to school for?
So right out of high school, I went to Bible college,
Okay.
a very conservative one in Dallas, Texas. And then I was like, I'm too young, and I was sinning and all kinds of other stuff. I was like, who wants a 21, 20-year-old, 22-year-old pastor? And so I had a great time in ministry, and I really struggled with that decision as well because, um, uh, you feel a calling and you're like, did I not feel that calling, or am I calling God a liar, or whatever. And anyway, so then after that I went to the University of North Texas to study political science, and I'm sitting there in my Texas political science course, and the professor says, I've never worked a campaign, I've never worked in government. And I just walked out of class and went to the computer lab. I was just like, I already have a problem with authority. The fact that somebody was teaching me who's never done was a huge pet peeve of mine. And I was like, I'm paying for this. And
Right.
so, I immediately started volunteering for campaigns, doing some web work for campaigns, getting jobs, got in trouble for a bit. And then,
What did you
like
get
I
in trouble
said, then
for?
when I finally said, hey, I need to get involved and just fail, kind of the opposite happened. So.
What now? You say you got in trouble. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean you got in trouble?
Well, I've sold shirts with my mugshot on it, but like, my friend
Oh,
took
that kind of
his,
trouble. Okay.
yeah, jail kind of trouble. And so my a friend roommate at the time went and took his old roommate's debit card. I drove him. He didn't have a car. I drove him to the ATM. About a year and a half later, when the police asked me about it, I'm a loyalist through and through. I'm not snitching on nobody.
Okay.
And turns out that was the wrong move. I probably should have turned him in. And but it was a life lesson. I spent 59 days in jail.
Oh,
But
okay.
that was because I was too ignorant to know what a bond was. Even though my mother was a lawyer, she didn't practice criminal law, and we weren't talking. We had a falling out. So I always tell people that I never would have obtained the success that I've obtained if I did not mess up when I was 19 and 20. And I learned patience. I learned really what it meant to be broke. I learned, that the system can bite back.
I've
And
noticed.
yeah, and then I got some terrible mugshots out of it. But years later, I'd come to sell that mugshot on a T-shirt. We raised some money for poor black kids, fatherless black kids, and now I just have fun with it.
Okay. So you started your political world in like the late aughts. You said it was the McCain campaign in
Yeah,
2008.
so 2007, 2008.
Okay, and then you went through. I mean, you obviously that didn't wasn't successful, but I don't know if
Well, I
that's
mean, when you think about it, it was successful for me. I
okay.
mean,
Right.
my career, I did a lot of like youth work and digital work, and John McCain's what we did on the digital side was innovative, and I was a black man opposing, the first black president allegedly. So, it was, and our loss helped make the ground fertile for the Tea Party movement. So the betrayal by the Republican Party with George W. Bush's bailouts, and then Obama continuing those bailouts, and then John McCain and others trying to moderate the party, turned people like me who were moderate more conservative, and it gave
Right.
birth to the Tea Party movement, where we married it with the libertarians, and so all things really work for good. So you could say we lost. I think the country lost, but me myself, it was the greatest. It was the greatest fuel for my career.
Well, it really seemed like it started it, and it gave you an insight into really, I guess the uniparty, right? That the power of the
Yeah.
uniparty, because like the Republican, Democrat, what's the difference? I mean, they're all they all have one goal in mind, and that's to maintain power. And that's something that I've noticed. So you even say conservative, and I don't even feel like Republicans and conservatives, like true conservatives, really are in line anymore.
Oh,
Although,
right. No.
what do you think about McCarthy? I mean, are you impressed with what he's doing right now?
I've been
He's
in a
saying a lot of good things, but is he doing it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say this. I've been an opponent of McCarthy since 2009. I mean, I'm like one
Oh,
of McCarthy's first critics ever, and but these ironically are Kevin McCarthy's best days, best weeks. I've never seen him perform like this. He's doing a great job. I'm frankly surprised. And there's still other ways that we are going to have to measure his success. What is he willing to concede to McConnell and Biden
right.
when all of the world's media is telling him to pass something because the Senate passed it, and Joe Biden wants to sign it? So we haven't seen how he negotiates. Um, and we'll see. What does not only how does he negotiate, but what's a red line for him? Is he willing to shut down the government? Is he willing to say, like, hey, if you don't couple this with y'all's bill, we're not going to pass anything? I mean, I would love
Right.
that if Kevin McCarthy says we're not going to just pass anything, we're going to obstruct everything. That he would make a great speaker. So I don't know. We'll see, because Kevin McCarthy has been kind of he's been under a couple people and a couple different leadership styles. So we don't know what Speaker McCarthy looks like yet. Um, but he's got his finger to the wind, and he knows he can't oppose Trump. He knows he's got to appease MAGA. The steering committee, he made great moves in diversifying the steering committee. The appointments have been good. The concessions have been good. The rules that govern his position are historic. And in a lot of ways, Kevin McCarthy is half of a speaker, and the rules have taken away half the powers of the speaker. So I think I'm very happy with Kevin McCarthy, and I never imagined myself, saying those words.
Yeah, I mean, a government that isn't constantly making new rules. I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, that their job isn't to just continue to make laws nonstop. It's what is their job? I mean,
Yeah.
I think they have too much power as it is. Um, I guess before I know there's a lot of political talk that I want to hear your opinion on, but before I do, I really got to ask you something. There's something I stumbled upon, in just finding things to ask you. Tell me about time travel. Tell me this. According to you, you're a time traveler, and I have to know more about it. Please indulge me.
Well, I'm a big fan of when I'm doing strategic work, and I'm modeling out uh, patterns, or I'm modeling out outcomes. and I'm trying to determine, what's going to happen next, which I've been wildly successful at doing. Uh, I try to look at what are called distinctions without a difference.
Okay.
And oftentimes, like for example, especially in conspiracy theory, like what would be the difference between a uniparty, right? The active tense of a uniparty that there is a criminal conspiracy of two parties colluding with each other to fake a label, or perverse incentives which incentivize Republicans and Democrats to agree on the worst things together and disagree on things where the Americans would feel less anxiety or schizophrenia on the stuff that we debate about abortion and welfare and some of these social issues. And the fact is that oftentimes there is a distinction, but the difference doesn't matter. And so when I'm able to make an outside of the money, out of the money, prediction that comes true, a lot of my followers will say, at least from the future and all kinds of things. And so what I would say is that that the person who is going to be most successful in this era is going to be the person who understands what base reality should be, what base reality is, and then how to game theory it. And once you've kind of traveled that through your mind space, you come back with a different answer. So if I, for example, know that me versus a member of Congress is not going to receive any media coverage, so instead I make myself a caricature and I humiliate myself in the process, and then I get $2 million worth of earned media. I've traveled in through game theory, my mind space, and I've come back with the answer. And so, I love to be effective, and I think that people who treat reality as it is are leaving a lot on the table. But worse, I think most people cannot see reality, and they confuse the social with the physical. So like this whole gender fluidity with actual whatever, or they are these retarded rationalists who don't see the social or the spiritual at all, and but can't explain, how they were so wrong about the coronavirus policies or other things. And if you think that people just magically got that wrong, or they were simply incorrect and it was innocent, then you really don't know anything about perverse incentives, recursive loops, or all types of other things. So time travel's real.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like 4D chess, Ali. That's people playing 4D chess. They were saying Trump was playing 4D chess for a long time, and I mean,
Yeah.
The meme aside, I mean that in kind of a literal sense. It does almost feel like a chess game where you have to read the future and see the way the game is going to play out and act accordingly.
But
All right.
but by acting, you interfere with the game, and you have to know what the consequences of your actions are without staying in a loop. So it's like, what is base reality? You don't do something that fits in with that. You do something that changes that. Well, by changing it, don't you have to keep running the formula again and again and again? And so some people go crazy, and I've managed not to go crazy. And but yeah, I basically agree, and I kind of love that it's become what the left trolls me on, because it grows my mysterious nature. And when you hear me talk about demographic science or politics or the electoral college or the history of all the things that I know, you're like, okay, well, this guy's not crazy. But then you'll hear me say something like, MTG's a hoe, I'm a time traveler, and all kinds of other things, and you're trying to figure out, well, what's all these game,
Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned it. It's a way to break the algorithm. It's a way to break through being held down and being try to pushed to the side so no one actually hears your message. It's just like
Yeah,
kind of, I'm gonna say something that's gonna, you're not gonna be able to stop this social media flame from spreading. But you mentioned MTG, and I am curious about your opinion on her. I know that you were you investigating her? You had some sort of? It's almost like you got something on her, and I'm curious
I got
what.
something on her.
Now I don't have, you don't have to like tell me, but I am very curious your opinion on MTG.
I supported her in her primary, and I
Hmm.
supported her obviously in the general election. And when I met with her privately the first time, I said, "Look, you're going to be a Michelle Bachmann who stays there longer. You are going to be the heart and the soul of the grassroots of our party, and I'm going to be excited to work with you." And that woman quickly faded away, and what we're left with is unrecognizable, and that's why she's lost 80% of her support. That's why all of her tweets are ratioed. She has negative comments on her, and unfortunately, MTG is a little too simple to understand that people don't disagree with doing a deal with Kevin McCarthy.
Right.
They disagree that she wanted no deal. She wanted no concessions. She didn't want a select committee for the J6 families. She didn't want a J6 select, or she didn't want a select committee for the CCP and coronavirus investigations. She didn't want to limit the power of the speaker. She just wanted Kevin McCarthy. And so I think she's getting a whole lot of Kevin McCarthy behind the scenes. And,
I that's what everyone. I mean, I've seen some pictures that made me question the
that
way
body
that.
language. Yeah, we
Oh
know what that
yeah,
is.
I mean, get yourself someone who looks at you the way she looks at McCarthy. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the vibe that I was getting from those
Yeah.
pictures. So I mean, I could see that. It is a shame because I feel like a lot of people feel betrayed by her, and
Oh, yeah.
I heard her response. It was, look, we weren't gonna let Jeffries become speaker. We needed to get.
Which she didn't.
I know, or it wasn't. Obviously, he's not speaker. He's minority now, so it's like, even though that guy is, that's a whole other conversation. My
Yeah.
goodness. Um. So, but I mean, I understand her point, but as you said, like, she didn't want to even negotiate. She didn't even want to try to fight for something like Gates did. And I from what I've seen, what Gates was trying to ensure with his vote, or with
What
the
he
final.
did.
Yeah, exactly what he actually did do. Well, I mean, of course, that remains to be seen. We still are
Well,
waiting
no.
for.
I'm saying what he did do is he changed the rules. What
Right,
he
right, right.
did do
Yeah,
is we got two select committees. One to investigate the coronavirus pandemic response in China, and the other one to investigate abuses by the DOJ and the FBI, the NSA, and the CIA. Unprecedented.
yeah,
So
that's true.
Gates has already delivered the goods, and because it's not like we're going to get legislation through the Senate. You can't negotiate to get a better Speaker of the House to get legislation through the Senate. So we got all of that because Matt Gaetz and 19 to 20 other legislators wanted to legislate and not be partisan hacks.
Yeah.
MTG wanted to be a partisan hack, and she wanted to serve the Republican Party and the optics of party unity over the substance of the voters of Georgia's 14th congressional district. And I just think that is disqualifying. And like I said, I like her. I just find her repulsive as a representative, and I would never let someone like that represent me.
Well, I agree. I mean, I like her too. But as in all people in politics right now, I very much don't trust anybody. I mean, even Gates, even
Yeah.
uh, Thomas Massey, who I feel like is one of the people I like the most in politics currently. I don't know. I just don't trust anybody anymore. Anything that has government attached to it, I instantly am like, I'm gonna not trust you until you prove yourself to me anymore. And I don't like doing that. I like taking people at their face value. What I mean, that's the naive person in me, but I would want someone to meet me and get to know who I am from me, instead of what they hear online, what they see or hear from others. And there's a lot of that going on, especially nowadays in the time when big tech, government, big pharma, all these different people are working together to cudgel anyone that's going against the narrative. I myself have 9 strikes on YouTube just because
Wow.
I talked about every single election discrepancy, I'll just say that, that I found and that came out, I talked about, and I got strikes for it. And it's like, I'm not going to stop talking about this. So stuff's happening. And we'll wait till we're on Rumble to maybe get your views on some of that stuff. I don't know. I want to trust but verify. Yeah, I guess is really the key.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Trump a little bit because I saw something that you didn't like Trump at first. Is that correct?
Yeah, in 2015, I was not pro Trump. I supported 3 or 4 or 5 candidates before I ultimately supported Trump in 2016.
What made you finally decide to support him, even though you didn't initially start?
He was our nominee, and I'm a team player. And
Okay.
When Trump became our nominee, I supported him. And when he made certain concessions with social conservatives that I liked a lot, and so Trump was always willing to make a deal, and I respected that. And I opposed the hell out of Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton is almost the single most dangerous person, who's ever ran for that office. So I met and personally hung out with Donald Trump in 2014, and we adore each other. Whenever we see each other, he stopped Secret Service for a few minutes. We enjoy, a little brief catch up. And but I didn't like the policies that he was running on. I was more of a constitutional conservative, before kind of partnering with the nationalists as I do now.
Well, he went to bat for you. I mean, in the Stop the Steal events, the people around him, which I actually want to ask you about, they didn't want you anywhere close to him, and he was like,
Yeah.
"No, like I like don't stop him. Like he's on my side, and I got his back, and that was cool to see." But speaking of that, the people around Trump, I talk about this often, that one of Trump's biggest issues was him trusting people around him that he shouldn't have. The trust but verify, right? I mean, he kind of came in not a politician into this political world, and kind of he put too much trust in certain people. And I'm curious who you would say would be the top people on that list of what his mistakes were, of who he trusted.
Well, I think that the deep state targeted Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, and General Flynn because all 3 of these men had one thing in common that Reince and Bannon and Jared and Ivanka didn't have. And that's that the former had government experience. The latter had no government experience. And if you're going to go in there and you're going to fire bureaucrats or tell them what to do, you need to have had some of the experience that Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, and General Flynn had. So they took out these 3 gentlemen. Then they took out John, what's his name, who did all the personnel. So they basically disabled Trump from understanding how the government worked or executing any of his orders. And oftentimes people would get a Trump order and then just do the opposite. I mean, there are people who should be charged with sedition because they took papers off of his desk. They took things that he signed and threw it away. They, did.
I've never heard this.
Huh?
I never heard about this. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there were a lot of times when, even General Milley brags about not following Trump's final orders.
Right. I remember that.
And then there's the chief of staff, Clark, who took things off of Trump's desk. So there was complete sedition in the Trump administration. And people like Katrina Pearson, who was helping him out with political stuff and stuff like that, would just always subvert him. And he would think that people were doing what he was doing. So, and then we had traders in there like Gary Cohn from Goldman Sachs. So it was just very, very problematic. And
Yeah.
I hate to use that word, but what Trump needed was people who didn't need to get a job after this, or people who didn't need to make, 7-figure annual income after this, and really just want to help the country, get beat up for helping the country. People like Peter Navarro, did a great job as much as he could. But we really need people who can dismantle bureaucracy, and that means it needs to be people with political experience or with government experience would be better. But people who just don't care about the next thing. And unfortunately, Reince and Bannon and Ivanka and Jared, they didn't know anything about anything. So just wandering around the hallways, barking orders at people that say, okay, well, you didn't send it to me in an email. You didn't send it this way, or, I'm not going to get fired for not, taking a verbal command. And we really got played.
Yeah, I could see that. You mentioned Roger Stone, and I'm curious because there's a video floating around of him basically talking shit on Trump. Like, he's done. I'm over him. He's the worst ever. I don't even know if it's real. I mean, it looks like Roger Stone. It sounds like Roger Stone. And I've seen some people talking about how he was just controlled by the deep state himself, and I'm like,
No.
I don't. It's hard to even know what to believe anymore, to be honest. From the different things that I've read, you go on one side of the aisle and it's like black, and on the other side it's white, and it's like that's how different the two sides of the aisle are saying about something that's gray. You know what I mean? It's tough to really find the truth between it all. So
it is tough, but there's the material reality, and the material reality is that General Flynn lost his home and all of his money. Roger Stone lost his home and his apartment in New York and all of his money. I had to flee my home because of Antifa threats, and I lost my life savings battling the J6 Select Committee, the Biden administration, testifying before a grand jury, and everything that's happened to me the past 2 years. And so when someone loses that much, that's not a state asset, because then the state asset's not worth anything. It's costing them something. And you can do things for cover, but you can't do things for years at a loss. And General Flynn, myself, and Roger Stone have proven that we couldn't possibly be government assets. And whereas there are other people who, were the focus of the movement and then skipped over it. It's like, wait, what? So, but we also got to be very skeptical, because the government will oftentimes call people feds in order to cast suspicion on them. They want to divide the movement. That's why I think the biblical standard of judging people by their fruits, don't psychologize them, don't worry about what their intentions are. Are they producing results? Okay.
Right.
Well, there are controlled opposition operators producing results, but they can only do it for a time. No one, no controlled opposition person can do it for years and years and years, unless they're just an info collection, gatherer. They're not an operator. And so, no, I've seen myself. I've seen people deep fake videos of me. I've seen photos where they take a public Instagram picture and then put it on something else. I've seen all kinds of things for myself. Roger's more lied about than me. Ye's more lied about than me. I know a lot of famous people, and but only a couple who are more lied about than me. And it's just fascinating when you read this stuff, because you're just like, why didn't I get a call from the press? Why is this allowed to go on? And Roger Stone is the first person who imagines that Trump could be president of the United States. Roger Stone is the first consultant, the first operative, the first imaginer of it. In a lot of ways, we're living in the aftermath of Roger Stone's idea, because Donald Trump was a great president and would have been greater had we had control of the government. So, and Roger Stone is supporting the president now. When Roger Stone found out that I was going to help my friend Ye, Roger Stone said, you should support Trump, and I support both. I support Trump and Ye. I'd like to see them both on the same ticket. In what order? Who knows? But you know, Roger Stone's a loyalist through and through and a truth teller, but he has a lot of fun with it.
You know, I am curious. How did you even get on Ye's radar and connect with him? And when did that first happen?
You know, I was doing live streaming and I was teaching the MAGA base about how the government worked or how the Republican establishment would screw them. And I garnered a lot of attention from a lot of people. And one of those people is another celebrity who passed my stuff over to Ye. And so Ye started watching my videos in 2017.
Oh, that
And
long ago. Okay.
yeah. And so a lot of people. Uh, a lot of people see my public figure on Twitter and assume that's all my life. Or Ali has a big mouth. Ali's always telling everything. It's like I've got a whole, you know, consulting business, and I have a whole life where you know I care very deeply about people who are in positions of power and influence who don't have an outlet to get politically educated or have emotional releases or have someone else do a second look at their books or find out if their other consultants are lying to them. And so I've been very blessed to be wise counsel to a great number of people, basically my entire adult life. And 99% of those relationships stay private for 99% of the time. And now it's kind of public. A lot of people already kind of knew that Ye and I were loosely associated. I was his first 2 retweets ever. And for several years, I was his only retweets. And then, you know, Ye's comfortable with fake news. I'm not. So Ye doesn't really correct the record. And there's a lot of people who thought he got red pilled, you know, by someone else in 2018 or something. It's like, you know, we're all humans. And I think that celebrities and rich people and powerful people and influential people deserve to be human too. And not enough people allow public figures to be human. I mean, that's why online I block a ton of people on Twitter. I'm like, I don't get paid to do the Ben Shapiro thing, to pretend to like people or tolerate people or sell them mugs or subscriptions. I'm me. And you're either here to listen to what I want to say and I'm here to learn from people I follow, or go away. We never have to see each other in this lifetime. Maybe we'll see each other in heaven. But that's kind of
Hold
my
on.
attitude.
Did you just subtly admit that you're the one who red pilled Kanye? Is that, or excuse me,
No,
yeah.
I would say that I contributed toward sound Christian doctrine and the understanding of some other concepts, and I think Ye red pilled himself, and I was
Makes sense.
happy that my videos were a part of that journey.
Yeah, like one can only red pill themselves, right? I mean, that's the nature of it. You have to be able to open yourself up to admitting maybe you were wrong, or that your worldview is wrong, or the things that you're being told are wrong. I mean, it's kind of a combination of all of those things. I did notice you mentioned something. I believe it was on your Telegram about Ye wanting to alter the Constitution, and I am so curious what that meant. What can you give me some details on that?
Well, you know, it's a very conservative thing, and I told that to Ye a couple, maybe about a month and a half ago, when he kind of approached me with the idea. I said, "Well, look, we have what's called the Convention of States as an
Right.
organization. We have Article 5 Convention and a couple of other things. Um, you know, we as conservatives do want to repeal the bad parts of the Constitution that have really let the courts run away with substantive due process and all kinds of other shaky legal concepts. And so, you know, I think that Ye is very passionate about rewriting the Constitution so that our republic is sound and has a good base to come with. And right now we have a bad base. And Ye also wants to institute things that would make it easier. Like, you know, we really do need to figure out how to clarify the First Amendment so it stops coming from under assault by the liberals.
Yeah.
We really do need to clarify the Second Amendment so that the liberals don't say that this is not an individual right or not a fundamental right, which thankfully has been affirmed by the Supreme Court that it is a fundamental right.
Right.
We need to really consider all of our civil rights constitutional amendments and whether they serve a very technical purpose at a time that's now getting abused and can be repealed, or what. And then there's some things that we do need to affirm. Life, a personhood amendment that guarantees all life and unborn life. I think that you'll see Ye come out in favor of things like that. And so, Ye wants us to reimagine what it means to be the American empire again, and that we take control of our republic, and that we not live in the shadow of our past or our sins, that we honor, our past and our heritage, but we don't need to be beholden to it. And that's an exciting, edifying, inherently conservative way of looking at things, is that conservatives are the innovators. We support technology, we support commerce and free association, and but we do have bedrock principles in which we're not just doing everything willy-nilly. We're not the theoretical. We are people who believe in the evidence, and that's all tradition is. Tradition is a series of things that have worked. That's all tradition is. Yeah. And there's no such thing as a tradition of something that doesn't work, something that doesn't scale for, thousands of years across, several continents and people. And we actually get accused of what the liberals actually are. And they are the theoretical, they are the untested, they are the whims of man, they are the super religious. And I don't mean that in the original context, but obviously they're zealots. And so, that's kind of my view. Yeah, Ye wants to rewrite the Constitution.
Well, it sounds more like he wants to not rewrite it. I feel like that's a scary way of saying it. That would scare. I mean, by scare away people, instead of it. What it sounds like to me, he wants to bring it into the 21st century, where it's like, the First Amendment means this, all right, and shall not be infringed is not something that anyone uses nowadays. So like bringing it into nowadays is like, people can own guns, like I'm obviously, right, or whatever however you'd rephrase it. So like rewriting it in a sense that it's just reaffirming that foundation that the founders put in place, because it feels like America is almost like a skyscraper, that the foundation was solid. That's why it worked for so long. And then like as things went along and they built the building, Lincoln came along and gave the federal government like an insane amount of power, and like the fourth floor, fifth floor was like not as solid as the beginning. And then like the Fed came, and Jekyll's Island and the gold standard got cut down. There's like all the things throughout the past 100 years that just made the building start to be frail. And it's like almost recognizing like all of those floors need to be reaffirmed so that we can continue building, because we're going to crumble. We're going to fall apart. Like I feel like there's a lot of people on this planet that don't want like that what you said, like the American empire, to like bring that back to like its glory. It's like, it feels like they don't want that. They want the global government, World Economic Forum to be like the controllers of the planet, instead of having like an independent America. And it's, I don't know, what do we do about that? Because that's definitely looming.
We demonstrate offline. We don't let them put us in control. Like, I love this podcast. But what's been really important to me is to do the podcast in lo-fi. Like, here I am on an iPad, crappy sound and all this, but I'm getting information that people need, and so they're addicted. The retention is higher when I'm a guest on shows and stuff like that. And the chat's popping, and there's more tweets, because people know that I'm going to tell them how the system works. Yeah. And so I'm trying to teach people that it's not production value, it's offline value. And so how do we beat the World Economic Forum? Is we reaffirm that we are humans. We are metaphysical creatures. We are here placed by God. We have to do some tilling of the land. We have to order things towards Him, towards beauty. And we've forgotten who we are as a people. We have forgotten who we are and what we're here for. We are not here to consume. We are not here to spend. We are not here to live in a pod or just hang out on podcasts and Twitter. We are here to do something meaningful. And what Ye will say oftentimes is, nothing's been invented since the iPhone. And that we have the iPhone, but the App Store is what prevented anything from being invented, and that the
Right.
smartest minds are all now building apps.
Right. And there's an argument with like patent laws and how that holds back humanity because everyone's just trying to find that thing to like hold and like keep to themselves to like use it to make themselves rich instead of doing something for the help of humanity. Like the last thing that like matchsticks, the guy was like, this is too good for humanity. I can't patent this. And then now everyone has matchsticks. Like matches are great. I know it's a small little thing, but what that's showing is like the selfishness of society is sad. It really bums me out. I want to ask you a few questions about Trump's warp speed, and then also I really want to get into Stop the Steal and some of the stuff that might be a little too controversial for YouTube. So I am going to cut my YouTube stream, everyone. I am currently on Rumble right now. We're gonna finish this interview over there. We've got some some stuff that isn't appropriate here, which is fine. So please follow me over on Rumble. Check me out over there. I'm gonna read this last super chat. Sleazy says, "I think you're missing the $100,000 deductions on salary for every strike he got." No, that was for every episode he didn't do. This, of course, is talking about Crowder and the Daily Wire deal,
Ha!
which that's not a strike. It has nothing to do with the strike. It's about the days that he didn't work, which he could have made up at a different time. And I don't know. I feel like that's it. But come over to Rumble so we're gonna get a little more spicy and talk about some of the stuff that we're not allowed to do on YouTube because fuck YouTube. All right, peace out, everybody. Okay, we are now live.